Live from New York, it's the show that is promising you one of the best Tuesday shows we have ever done in the last 3 years.
Wow.
That's a promise to you right now.
Wow.
Here's the best thing I've ever written.
Oh.
We start with an old question.
Better than oh no?
Yeah.
Oh no line?
Can you play for the Bills, play wide receiver for the Bills, go to every practice for the Bills? Are you going to be available?
Wow.
Stephen A. doesn't think you do. But you took to Twitter to refute, writing, it's 100% not true.
Just ask the question. Just move on. Just ask the question.
It's already.
All right.
I'm rocking with my dogs, Bills Mafia, through and through. Brew, it was good. I told you this is one of the best Tuesday shows we've ever done. Nick, what do you make of this?
I don't know if that was good or awful, but it was something.
It wasn't good.
Wildes came down the stairs today and said, 12 minutes ago, the best thing I've ever written is on today's show.
Are you going to be available? That took a long time.
All right. Listen, do I think Stefon Diggs wants to be in Buffalo? No, I don't.
Really?
Do I think he is adamant, I must get out of here? No. But I think if in a perfect world for him, he would not be a Buffalo Bill. I think we have seen a lot of evidence of that. But the exact specifics of this are not, to me, the story. The story is, for the Buffalo Bills, the two-time defending media Super Bowl champion, but zero-time actual Super Bowl champions, a team that has been to one conference championship game in the last 30 years, but is treated like they are the cream, amongst the top tier in the league, since their disastrous playoff performance. Truly disastrous. Only Tampa and Minnesota had more embarrassing postseason run than the Bills. We have had on the scales of, are the Bills getting better or are the Bills getting worse? Are the Bills moving in the right direction or are the Bills moving in the wrong direction? Mounting things in the wrong direction category and nary a thing in the right direction category. So since that disastrous playoff failure, they moved on from Leslie Frazier. During the disastrous playoff failure, we started to see the deterioration of the relationship. Their two most important players, Diggs and Allen, the yelling on the sideline. They then lose one of their best defensive players, Tremaine Edmonds, in free agency. They lose one of their best offensive linemen, Roger Saffold, in free agency. They lose their kick returner in a really unfortunate, tragic accident on a jet ski in Nyheim Hines. They don't add their biggest position of need, which was a wide receiver 2 on offense. We then had multiple days of continued Stefon Diggs controversy and now multiple weeks of it leading into this. And oh yeah, by the way, Aaron Rodgers joined the division. And just the other day, the offensive line, which was already a point of weakness, they lost their top backup tackle for the season to injury. That's the things that have gone wrong. What's gone right?
Josh Allen.
But he was already there.
Well,
what's the way they got better? What's the big thing? There isn't one.
Well, he promised not to throw in. He's not going to throw a red zone interception.
So, yeah, I think they're going in the wrong direction. I think they've been going in the wrong direction since that one AFC championship appearance. And I think it's bad news for the Buffalo Bills, bro.
Well, first, let me address the Diggs thing. I tend to agree with you. But the thing, I don't know if it's a Josh Allen problem as far as Diggs is concerned or if he's just a malcontent. I mean, he wasn't happy in Minnesota eventually. He's getting all the targets he could want in Buffalo. He's got a top-flight quarterback. Mm-hmm. They are a good team. They've won 13 games through the last 3 years, and he got paid. And why is he not happy? So, I think you probably hit it on the head. I don't know where he wants to go. Unless he wants to go play with Patrick Mahomes, where are you going that's a better situation necessarily? And so right now I think it's fine. I think he kind of means what he says when he's like, I want to stay here.
Okay.
But let things go south. If you're right and things don't start off well, he's going to have some episodes on the sidelines.
Yeah,
and that could be a problem. But I'm more with Wildes in that you're right in all those things you pointed out. And you forgot to mention how they got manhandled by Pittsburgh, a preseason game, but they were playing their starters for a lot of that time. Buffalo. I mean, they look bad against the Steelers. But the reasons to be hopeful are Josh Allen, for the flaws he has, is still a very good quarterback. Look, I'm not down on the receiving core. Obviously, you have Diggs, you got Gabe Davis. They added Dalton Kincaid, another tight end with Dawson Knox. So I think skill position-wise, they're fine. And Von Miller
is on the pup list.
Presumably, though, will be healthy this season, and that's a top defense. My number one problem with the Bills is leadership or lack thereof. As much as I like Josh Allen, I haven't seen anything to tell me he's a great leader. I don't think Sean McDermott is a great leader. All right, and Von Miller is 34 years old, coming off of injury, and just got there last season. So I think that's their main problem. Look, you can win a lot of games based on great talent, but to get over the hump and win the necessary playoff games you need to win a Super Bowl, and right now it's Super Bowl or bust for them. Getting deep is not going to be good enough. They need to win a Super Bowl, or at least get there for now, and that takes leadership, and that's what I'm concerned about with
All right, can I ask, we kind of kicked this around in the morning meeting because I want to defend Stefon Diggs a little bit here. Forced his way out of Minnesota, I get it. Stephen A. says he wants to be out. Stefon Diggs says it's 100% not true. Now, I don't want to say Stephen A. is not telling the truth. I also don't want to say Stefon Diggs is not telling the truth, so now we're kind of caught in this gray area in the middle. To his credit, Stefon Diggs, he missed one mandatory minicamp thing, and he was there, and Sean McDermott, they went home or whatever it was. He later said, I feel like I'm in a great space, I'm in a great place, I'm loved and appreciated, 100% he wants to retire as a Bill. Like, if you're Stefon Diggs and this comes out, what are you supposed to say? He said 100% not true, but then we're going to spend 12 minutes debating whether or not he means it. I feel like it's unfair to him.
He's got to show it with better body language. He has no reason to be going off the way he is.
No,
when was that, though? It was in July.
It was hold on. But it was the most recent game they played, and then it was the mandatory minicamp. Like, hold on.
This is all we're going to... This is when it happened to OBJ, everyone's like, the media's treating OBJ unfairly.
But he admitted he was unhappy.
And then OBJ got traded. And then they moved on. Like I am with you that I think Stephen A. can be reporting what he has been told.
That's right.
And Stefon Diggs can be telling the truth.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like
the source
could be wrong. I don't think Stephen A. is claiming Stefon Diggs told me this. So so nobody could be lying here. But I think even if Stefon is telling the truth in the moment, we do know it is. You did yada yada one important point. It wasn't just that he missed the minicamp. It's that whatever happened that day made Sean McDermott very concerned. I'm very concerned. But that happened. And the point I'm trying to make here is even if the Diggs stuff wasn't going on, I looked up this morning the top 14 by Vegas odds. 14 Super Bowl odds, the best 14 Super Bowl odds. All of those teams, except for two, last year moved in a positive direction. The Chiefs went further, won the Super Bowl. Philly went further, made the Super Bowl. San Francisco made another conference championship game. Dallas won a playoff game when they hadn't the year before. Baltimore made the playoffs after missing. The Jets improved the record and added Aaron Rodgers. Detroit had the best season they've had in a decade. The Chargers made the playoffs after missing. Miami made the playoffs after missing. The Jags made the playoffs and won a game after missing. Minnesota won 13 games and made the playoffs after missing. Seattle made the playoffs after missing. That's 12 of them. Cincinnati technically took a small step back. I don't think anybody looks at Cincinnati like they took a major step back. Buffalo, for the second straight year, got worse. So you have the 14 top Super Bowl contenders. All of them have one thing in common. They got better, except for Cincinnati, who was the only way for them to get better would have been to win the Super Bowl, and the Bills, who went backwards again when the year before they had gone backwards.
But it's look, when you're making the playoffs every year, if you don't get quite as far as you did, it's similar to the Bengals.
But
it's not like they missed the playoffs. You mentioned a bunch of teams that didn't make the playoffs, and then they made it. So, yeah, they took a positive step. Mm-hmm. But to say they're ahead of Buffalo, I think is disingenuous.
But, no, what I am saying is that you have all of these teams have something in, like the teams we believe in. They all feel like they're coming off positive momentum from last year. All of them. Except for Buffalo, which for the second straight year went in reverse. Buffalo was in the AFC title game. Then the next year, they were on the road in an epic round 2 game that they lost. That's a step back, but we kind of gave them a pass for it.
Sure.
Then the next year, they're at home and get blown out in round 2. After round 1 looking bad. When the previous year in round 1, they scored on every possession against your Patriots.
Well, that was against.
That's the
How's
second
their
straight
talent?
year. That's where you and I do think fundamentally disagree. I don't think that it is that overly talented. I just don't. I think they have a below average offensive line. I think that they have a defense that knew it needed an impact player so much they gave a guy past 30 with an injury history, 6 years, 120. Yeah. He didn't make it through the year. I think their best linebacker left in free agency. I think, and while I agree with you, I like Kincaid, the tight end they drafted. The position that rookies typically have the least impact, one of the least, is tight end. It's usually not a
second tight end, too.
That's fair. And so I just don't, and the biggest thing for me is everybody thinks they have this superstar quarterback.
So that's what I think.
I don't.
Really? You
And
don't think
we can talk about
you
it
don't
here.
think he's a superstar?
No, I think the same reason that we tried to lay out all these reasons why the Chiefs weren't going to be good. You lost Tyreek Hill. You're starting all these rookies on defense. You didn't win the Super Bowl. You took a step backwards, and you were like, well, you got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo fans can be like, yeah, we got Josh Allen.
Okay,
you think you got him? You don't? And he runs for 15 yards.
You got Santa Claus, too. I mean, you can't compare one guy to Patrick Mahomes. You certainly can't. You compare anybody to Patrick Mahomes. You certainly can't compare Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you also don't have Andy Reid. And again, to me, if McDermott doesn't get it, if he doesn't get it done this year, and I don't mean win the Super Bowl, but if they look bad in the playoffs.
Yes.
They were fortunate to get past Miami with the third-string quarterback. So if they don't look better this year, then I know they just gave him the extension, but it's just ridiculous. It's the leadership.
That was the canary in the coal mine. When he came out, the way he handled that was just unwise.
Luckily, he has more on his plate this year since he's also the defensive coordinator now. That usually goes well.
Let's take a look at the NFL MVP odds. Mahomes, our guy, bro, number 1.
Yes,
Burrow,
that's right.
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Herbert. Brew, we'll start with you. Allen's MVP odds, too high, too low, or just right?
I'm going to say slightly too high. Slightly. Okay. I think he should be in the top 10. I mean, top 5.
Okay.
I would get Herbert out of there and put Lamar Jackson in. I'm expecting a big year from Lamar. And I would probably, if I might have Allen 4th or 5th. And the only reason, though, is because I do agree with Nick that the team, I don't think they're going to win 13 games. That's a huge part of it. You got to win a ton of games. If they do win 13, I think he's in the hunt because the way their offense is set up, he's still their best runner. They lost Devin Singletary, their top rusher last year. So Allen is going to put up huge numbers. Mm-hmm. He's thrown for more than 4,000 yards the last 3 years, more than 35 touchdowns or 35 or more the last 3 years. He's going to have the big numbers. If they win the games, he's going to be such a huge part of that offense, not only passing the ball, but rushing, that he definitely, to me, is a top 5 candidate. The question is, are they going to win enough games?
They're way too high. Guys.
How?
Because he's never been an MVP caliber player.
But he's finished in the top 3.
Okay, so let's just talk about this real quick. Let's just talk about this real quick. In 2020, he got 4 votes. It made him finish 2nd. That's what happened. Just wait a second. The 2 other guys who got votes, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, both of their teams were the 1 seed. They both had more passing touchdowns. They both had a higher passer rating. Yet 4 of the 50 voters somehow said, I like the kid in Buffalo. I don't understand it. No one thought he was league MVP that year. The next year, he got 0 votes. Last year, 1 person voted for him for MVP, which put him in the top 3 because of how the NFL voting works. But Brew, who doesn't like to ever, it's one of the things I love about him, back down on a prediction, even you gave up the Josh Allen MVP ghost by week 10. Because you did not think. Right. That's
and
my
Mahomes
point.
was doing what
exactly
Mahomes
right.
does.
And so my point is because 4 people in 2020 and 1 person last year foolishly and erroneously voted for him does not mean he's been an MVP caliber player. He has had MVP caliber moments. He's had MVP caliber months. The final month of the 2021 season, the first month of last season.
Playoff.
I'll include that, the playoff run in 2021 as well. But over the width and breadth of a season, it's never been close. And we can show you a guy who looked like He was improving markedly each year, if we can show you the graphic, and then looks like, much like the team in 2020, plateaued. A guy, it's like, oh my God, look at his completion percentage. Boom, big jump. Boom, biggest jump we've ever seen. Then went in the other direction. So this year, who would I have ahead of him for MVP candidates? Obviously Patrick. Obviously the Prince. Obviously Joe Burrow. Obviously Jalen Hurts. Those are the 4 obvious ones. Lamar, I agree with you on. I would have ahead of him because I think there is a chance that Lamar is a monster year. I think the Cowboys are going to be excellent. So I would have Dak ahead of him for MVP. Again, this is not necessarily a quarterback ranking, it's MVP. I would have, because even though I don't believe it's going to happen, if they're awesome, he will get all the credit. I think Aaron Rodgers probably should be ahead of him. And then I would say Herbert and Tua are right with Josh. Where we have seen, because Tua, we have seen a month from Tua last year, the first month of the season, if he's healthy. And with Josh, it's like, well, if he doesn't turn the ball over, if.
Here's the thing, though, Nick. This is a guy, and I'm not going to throw up the graphic, that scored 84% of their touchdowns for a team that won 13 games. 13-3 when we know they missed the one game. So that's production. You can't belittle that in any way, shape, or form. He is that offense. Like, he has to do it with his feet, and he obviously does it with his arms. They don't have, guys that draw attention away from him. Like, that's huge. And again, over 4,000 yards each of the last 3 years and 35-plus touchdowns. And his interception rate is bottom 10, 12 in the league, something like that. But it's not horrendous.
I am not arguing and have not argued any time in the last 3 years. I did at the beginning of his rookie year. I didn't understand the draft pick. I was wrong on that. I am not arguing he's a bad player. I am not arguing he's not a good player. I am arguing that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are an idea. The Super Bowl caliber, a quarterback 1A, 1B, that is an idea. That some folks, because of the physical attributes and the wow arm talent, have been romanticized by, and because it's for a franchise that we all know has great fans. We like them. They're scrappy, and they have a tortured history. We think they deserve it. But we've never seen it. It's been anointed.
We haven't seen him get to a Super Bowl. We've seen him get to an AFC championship and go neck to neck with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen him win 75% of his games the last 3 years. Like, he just hasn't gotten it done as far as the Super Bowl.
That's right. He's a little bit like Luka, isn't he?
He's done more than Luka.
I say that on the 84% thing. I was thinking about
that. That's a good.
No, he's not. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.